Hello, class. So, we're moving on to Rome this week, and the best place to start with Rome is Rome's geography. So, Rome's geography is very similar to Greece's, which we just got done talking about Greece and the Greek peninsula. Well, Rome is on the Italian peninsula, so it's also a peninsula too, which a peninsula just means that it's surrounded by water on three sides. So you can see here how the water goes around the peninsula. And this is important because it provides water travel routes and also protection from invaders. So Rome is this little red dot right here on the Italian peninsula, and it's in the center of the Mediterranean Sea. So uh, it's a big sea that's just to the west of Greece. So Greece would be over here. And there's a lot of mountains on this peninsula, which is another similarity to the Greek peninsula. So there's the Alps in the north, so that's these mountains. And then there's the Apennines Mountains, which run down the middle of the Italian peninsula, which is these mountains right here. So these mountains, again, provided protection, but it also did make traveling difficult. And there was a lot of fertile plains in the north. So you see this section here where there's not any mountains. This was a very fertile section. And then along the coast was also a fertile section. So moving on, here's another map of the Greek peninsula. And Rome is this dot right here. And you can see that Rome's not right up against the mountains, but instead it has the mountains around them. And we'll get more into the settlement of Rome in a little bit. But the Alps, as you can see, are a tall mountain, so it stops invaders from coming in. And then any invaders that make it into this side, like, would have to cross these mountains. So the only way Rome could have been attacked was by people circling around the peninsula and attacking from this coast. So there was a lot of natural protection. The Italian peninsula also had a really good climate that made it easy for people to live there. So they had mild rainy winters, which means that the temperatures weren't cold. It was actually pretty similar to our recent winter here. We didn't have a whole lot of snow here in our recent winters. And then the summers were hot and dry, which again, July, August here can be pretty dry and pretty warm. And the main crops they grew were wheat, grapes, and olives. And since it was dry, they had to use the Tiber River to irrigate their fields. So, irrigate, you should remember, just means move water from the river into the fields. But like most ancient civilizations, they did have a river that they lived near, but the city wasn't built right on top of the river, so they didn't develop in river deltas like other civilizations have. Like we talked about the Indus River Valley and how they built right by the river. Well, and then possibly got wiped out due to floods. Well, as you can see from this picture here, the farmland's not right by the river, and this is like the city, and there's a gap. So they didn't build right on top of this Tiber River, which was the river that they used to sustain life. Instead, they built their city between these different hills. So you see like the Corino Hill and the different hills, and there's like seven hills that they built their city on, and then Field of Mars and the different fields. So this is where Rome built their city. So again, you may be wondering, why would this geographic location be an advantage? Well, we've already mentioned some of the reasons. There's water for your farmland. The mountains provide protection. So these hills are the base of the mountain, and these are why they might have settled there. So early civilizations in Rome, The Italy was originally occupied by many different groups of people. So there was a lot of different people there. Like we talked about with Greece, how the mountains divided the region and there was a bunch of city states. Well, Rome was similar. There was a bunch of different city states, but the two main groups were Greek colonists and then the Etruscans. And so if you think about the formation of the United States, these Etruscans were kind of like our Native Americans here. So they were the people indigenous to the region. And the Etruscans ruled much of central Italy and Rome itself until the Greek people came in and started taking over. So, ancestors of the Romans were the Latins, and they settled in the area which is now known as Rome around 800 BC. So, the Romans were there for a while, and the city of Rome was old before the Greek people even made it. And the history or legend of the founding of the city is that there was two twins, Romulus and Remus, who founded the city. And according to the tale, the twins' mother was a Latin woman and their father was the war god Mars. And the king at the time was afraid that these two twins would overthrow him. So, in order to protect them, they mother left them by the Tiber River and they ended up getting raised by wolves. And then these brothers find this hill and the wolves like mother tells them to build the city on this hill. So this city being built on the hill leads to the Romans' belief that they had a divine origin because these twins that started the city were their dad was god Mars, the war god. And if you want more information on the birth of the or like Rome, there's this link here which takes you to the story of the formation of Rome by Romulus and Remus. And these stories are important because one of your assignments this week is you're going to be writing a short story, just a couple paragraphs long, explaining how like war can impact and shape society. So we talked a lot about war when we were covering Greece. So you're going to write a story explaining how war impacted Greece and shaped Greece. And war is also going to play a big role for Rome because Rome was the first true empire. So an empire is a country or group that has control over a large region. And we're going to get more into empire and the government of Rome in the next video.